My aloof roommate got amnesia from a car accident and now thinks I'm his boyfriend. He's all over me every day, kisses, cuddles, the works, until one day his memory suddenly returned. I tried to pretend nothing happened and walk away, but my roommate's face darkened. Yesterday you were calling me husband, and now you're acting like you don't know me. Chapter 1. In a drowsy haze, I felt Julian Warren pull back my bed curtain and climb into my bed. The already small dorm bed instantly became cramped. He wrapped his arms around me possessively, kissing me nonstop, his voice low and hoarse. Babe, I couldn't sleep because I was thinking of you. My eyes fluttered, half open, heavy with sleep, and I patted his back soothingly. Then how about I hold you while we sleep, okay? MMM. Julian held me even tighter, whispering sweet nothings in my ear. By the time he finally fell into a deep sleep, I was wide awake from all the commotion. In the dim light under the bed curtain, the boy's features were sharp and defined. I stared at his sleeping face, lost in thought. Julian Warren is my university roommate and the campus's aloof, unapproachable heartthrob. He was usually cold toward me and rarely spoke to me. We weren't even acquaintances. Coupled with my own meek personality, I never dared to bother him and could only watch him from a distance. But last week, I suddenly got a call from Julian. The first thing out of his mouth was, "Babe, where are you? The doctor said a family member needs to sign for me to be discharged." Babe, family member, discharged. Completely bewildered, I rushed to the hospital. The doctor told me Julian had been hit by a car. He was fine otherwise, but his head was a bit scrambled and his memories were jumbled. Strictly speaking, it wasn't amnesia. Instead, his mind had somehow created a sweet memory of us being in a loving relationship. In this memory, we were already out of the closet and madly in love. We were even inseparable. Because we didn't know when he would return to normal, the doctor advised me to play along for the sake of his recovery. Don't provoke him, don't try to correct his memories, or it could cause brain damage. And so, I inexplicably became his boyfriend. We spent our days with kisses, cuddles, and him getting handsy with me. Many students were shocked, gossiping in whispers about when I had managed to turn the aloof heartthrob gay. I didn't know how to explain. I didn't even know when Julian would come to his senses, and how would he react when he did. My heart was a mix of sweet and heavy, a slow burning anxiety that felt like I was being sentenced to death by 1,000 cuts. As if sensing my unease, the sleeping boy pulled me a little closer. Like a wild beast claiming its territory, I sighed silently, whatever. I'll just let things be for now. Chapter 2. The next day I was woken by kisses as usual. The boy's breath was hot, his panting raspy from sleep. Julian only let go of me when we heard our roommate, Big Ben Carter, getting out of bed. He kept one arm wrapped around my waist and used the other to wipe the sweat from my brow, his gaze searingly hot. Babe, how about we spend the night somewhere else today? I almost nodded instinctively, but the last shred of my sanity snapped me awake. A shiver ran down my spine. And no, I don't think so. I have a report to write tonight, it's due tomorrow. Julian frowned, displeased. I'll write it for you. I steeled myself and refused again. Julian, we can't. What did you call me? I faltered, my face flushing as I said, husband. Julian was satisfied. I continued to explain. My professor is going to ask about specific details in the report. Maybe next time, okay. Fine, then we'll go on Saturday. This time, Julian left me no room to retreat, making the final decision. I felt completely defeated. Everyone said Julian Warren was stoic and self-disciplined, the epitome of restraint, and I used to think so too. But now, restraint my ass. He was clearly a beast waiting to be unleashed, fundamentally wild and reckless and even a bit wicked. Run. I had to run. I had to find an excuse to get away from him on Saturday. As much as I craved him, if I actually went to a hotel with him, he'd probably skin me alive on the spot once his mind cleared up. Watching Julian get out of bed to wash up, my heart ached with a painful sweetness. Perhaps a soft-hearted God heard my plea. That Friday, the student club suddenly announced a weekend trip. I was overjoyed. A group trip was the perfect excuse to get out of the hotel plan for Saturday, right? I immediately told Julian the news, feigning reluctance. I don't really want to go, but they said all members have to be there. It's such a shame we can't spend the night together on Saturday. Husband, just wait for me in the dorm, okay? Julian listened quietly, then suddenly lifted his hand and hooked my chin, his gaze deep and intense. Since you think it's a shame, I have a good way to make it not a shame. My eyelid twitched. I had a bad feeling about this. What way? He said, slowly and deliberately. These club activities usually allow you to bring a plus one, so I'll go with you. Chapter 3. On Saturday, I led Julian to the bus the club had rented. As he was helping me with my luggage, the club president quietly nudged me. Leo, not bad you even managed to bring the campus heartthrob. I gave a dry laugh. It wasn't me who brought him. He was the one who insisted on coming. Right now, I was just praying that with so many other students around, Julian would tone it down a bit. That way, when his memory returned, things wouldn't be too embarrassing for either of us. After stowing our luggage, Julian and I found a seat near the back of the bus. When I was hungry, he'd open snacks for me. When I was thirsty, he'd twist open my water bottle. He even blocked the sun for me. He was just so incredibly attentive. Even after being his boyfriend for a week, I couldn't help but feel my heart flutter. If only he could like me for a little longer. But alas. I pressed my lips together, feeling a wave of disappointment and regret. Still thirsty, Julian suddenly leaned in, that face that had clearly won the genetic lottery looming closer. I blinked. No, I'm not thirsty, but I am, babe. Confused, I offered him the water bottle in my hand. Do you want some? Julian didn't take it. Instead, he stared at my mouth and said something shocking. But I want a drink from here. I froze for a second, then my face instantly turned beet red. I lowered my voice and scolded him. Julian, there are a lot of students on the bus. Don't be a pervert. So what? I don't need their permission to kiss you. He pouted dismissively and leaned even closer. Where was the aloof heartthrob now? But just then, a soft female voice sounded next to our seat. Excuse me, I get a bit of motion sickness. I was wondering if I could switch seats with you. Chapter 4. I immediately pushed Julian away, my face pale as I looked at the girl. It was Melody Lynn, Julian's rumored girlfriend before his amnesia. I had seen Julian and Melody walking together a few times, chatting happily. Many people speculated they were about to get together. Even Big Ben had teased him about it in the dorm a few times. Julian had never denied it. I had been down about it for a long time. Now, having usurped her place, I felt incredibly guilty facing Melody. A fine, cold, prickling sensation spread across my face, as if I were being stabbed by 1,000 tiny needles. Excuse me, is it okay? Melody asked again with a smile, though her eyes kept darting toward the tall boy beside me, full of affection. Her intentions were obvious. Sure, you can sit here, I'll move to the front. I scrambled to my feet to give up my seat, but Julian grabbed me and pushed me back down. He said coldly, Leo, what are you doing? She gets motion sickness. I should let a girl have the seat. I forced a dry smile. Julian's expression grew even colder. The next second, he lifted his gaze and looked directly at Melody, his eyes sharp and displeased. Motion sickness, is it? I've heard people with motion sickness should sit at the front, not the back. It seems I was mistaken. I'm sorry, I'll just take a few more motion sickness pills myself. Hearing this, Melody apologized, looking so pitiful that even I felt a pang of sympathy for her. But just as she was about to leave, Julian stopped her. Wait, if you're really feeling unwell, you can sit here. Melody's eyes lit up. I lowered my gaze with a self-deprecating smile and stood up again, trying to be considerate. See. Even with amnesia, Julian's fondness for Melody was still there. I didn't deserve him. But then, Julian stood up with me. He held my bag in one hand and my hand in the other. Come on, let's move. I dazedly followed him to an empty seat at the front. Wait, Julian's ability to see through people's facades was this good. I couldn't help but glance back at Melody and saw that her face had turned completely sour. The students nearby, who had witnessed the whole thing, were snickering with schadenfreude. As I was silently sighing, my face was forcefully turned back forward. Julian's face was a stony mask, his voice flat. Leo, were you trying to push me onto someone else? Chapter 5. Julian had keenly sensed my strange behavior. My heart leaped into my throat. My eyes darted around as I stammered, unsure how to explain. In the end, I just shut my mouth, my whole demeanor wilting. Seeing me like this, Julian's expression softened inexplicably. He cupped my face, his thumb stroking my cheek, his voice soft and gentle. Leo, it's my fault. I didn't give you enough security, that's why you're so insecure. I'm sorry. As long as you don't break up with me, I'll do anything you want. Even though I knew he was only saying such humble words because of his jumbled memories, I was still deeply comforted. My heart was a mess of emotions. Julian, it's not your fault. It's my own issue. You're wonderful. You're really, really wonderful. My straightforward affection made Julian very happy. That's good, babe. He toyed with my hand, his gaze never leaving my lips. My intuition told me he was still desperate to kiss me. He was just holding back because he was afraid of embarrassing me. His behavior left my face burning hot all the way until we got off the bus. Probably afraid I would try to push him toward Melody again, Julian stuck to me like glue for the rest of the time. Melody shot daggers at me, the culprit. I pretended not to notice, but I couldn't resist asking Julian a question. Husband, weren't you and Melody pretty close before? I don't know her that well. Although his memory was confused, he hadn't lost it completely. After thinking for a moment, he explained, she was the one who kept clinging to me. I turned her down several times, but she wouldn't give up. It was pretty annoying. Huh. Then why didn't you deny the rumors that you two were dating? I don't bother with that stuff. Besides, our families know each other, so I couldn't just shut her down and make her lose face. But now I have you, so her face doesn't matter anymore. As Julian spoke, he gave my hand a lazy squeeze. After a moment of stunned silence, my eyes curved into a smile, and I squeezed his hand back. So Julian hadn't belonged to anyone else after all. Chapter 6. The club trip was to a villa in the mountains. We could play games, have an outdoor barbecue, and go stargazing at night. Julian and I were assigned a double room. The moment we walked in, he pulled me onto his lap, his large hand gripping my waist. He looked down at me, his eyes deep, dark, and gentle. I was momentarily captivated and couldn't stop myself from leaning up and kissing his cheek. Julian was satisfied. How about we come back to bed early tonight? I want to be close to you, I want to. His words were filled with a direct and undisguised intent. The soundproofing in this villa wasn't great. I could even faintly hear laughter from the next room. If we did anything tonight, the whole club would know by morning. I swallowed hard and refused in a panic. Actually, I don't want to sleep tonight. I want to go stargazing. Julian, let's go look at the stars. I heard that wishing on a star really works. I want to try it, okay. Julian fell silent, his gaze faint, but I could vaguely sense a simmering anger in his eyes that made my heart pound. Just as I was thinking about whether I should make up another excuse, he suddenly spoke, his tone unreadable. Leo, why do I get the feeling you're always avoiding me? No, of course not. Why would I avoid you? I can't get enough of you. You're my boyfriend. I'd love nothing more than to be close to you. It's just that we're on a rare trip, so we should try something different. I quickly forced a sweet, obedient smile. Julian looked at me, then agreed. Fine, I'll go stargazing with you. I buried my face in his neck and let out a secret sigh of relief. I completely missed the strange glint that flashed in Julian's eyes, fleeting as a shadow. It held a hint of frustration from unfulfilled desire, but it was more like he was puzzled about something. For instance, if I was his boyfriend, why did I always refuse to get too intimate with him? Chapter 7. After we unpacked, Julian and I left the room. Some students were preparing for the outdoor barbecue, so I went to lend a hand while he went to get me some water. I had just finished grilling a skewer of meat and wanted to give it to Julian first, but when I turned around, I saw him talking with Melody in a secluded corner. I hesitated for a moment, then walked over. As I got closer, I heard Melody's confused voice. Julian, did your roommate Leo lie to you? How could you be dating a guy? You told me before that you didn't like anyone and had no plans to date in university. Most importantly, don't you hate gay people? I clutched the skewer, my palms breaking out in a cold sweat. It's over. Would Melody's words trigger something in Julian's mind? As my heart pounded in terror, Julian's cold, impatient voice cut in. What business is it of yours? Our relationship has always been stable. We don't need an outsider worrying about us. With that, he turned and walked toward the spot where I was hiding. Just as I was about to scramble away in a panic, he quickened his pace and took my hand. His voice was as low and pleasant as ever, with a hint of teasing. Weren't you grilling something? What are you doing eavesdropping over here? I missed you, so I came to find you. I suppressed my panic and offered a lame excuse. So clingy are we? Julian leaned down and gave me a quick kiss. He seemed very pleased and showed no signs of being upset. It seemed he hadn't believed Melody's words. That made sense. No matter what others said, it couldn't be more convincing than the memories in his own head. But if people kept provoking him like this, it would only harm his condition. I would much rather he recovered his memories naturally. After a moment's hesitation, I tentatively said, Julian, can you not talk to other people from now on? I don't mean you can't socialize. I just mean people like Melody, who have designs on you. Can you just ignore them, okay? Julian froze, then the sharp, cold lines of his eyes and brows softened into an exceptionally beautiful curve. Okay, I'll listen to you. Whatever you say goes. From now on, I'll only look at you. I cleared my throat. Damn it, Julian probably thought I was jealous. Chapter 8. During the rest of the trip, Julian didn't say much to anyone else. Even while stargazing, he maintained his cold, fierce, stay-away-from-me demeanor. But behind the scenes, he kept restlessly squeezing my hand, a light-hearted but impatient urging. I knew he wanted to kiss me to get fresh with me. My face burning, I whispered, "Julian, if you don't want to watch, you should go back and sleep. Your body still hasn't fully recovered from the accident after all." Julian lifted his eyes. "Leo, I want to stay with you. I'm not a child, you don't have to stay with me." I smiled. But Julian turned his head to look at me. "But your eyes tell me you want company." I smiled sheepishly, poking fun at myself. "I'm not that pathetic, am I? You are. In my memory, you were always looking at me with those pleading eyes. You didn't have many friends. When Big Ben was a little nice to you, you'd be overjoyed. Like a pitiful little kitten, desperate for affection, innocent and sad." Julian described his impression of me based on that strange memory of his. So that's how miserable I seemed. I was a bit incredulous. "I thought you didn't want to talk to me before. Turns out you were paying attention to me. I've actually been watching you all along." Julian stared at me, his eyes dark and profound. "You're completely my ideal type, so of course I'd fall for you at first sight and then do everything I could to win you over. Ideal type, love at first sight. Julian would fall for me at first sight." Although I couldn't tell if his words were based on that false memory, making it hard to know if they were true, they still made my heart race. It was like a slow motion, complex chemical reaction, stealing all my breath and resistance. So much so that by the time we returned to the room after stargazing, my mind was spinning and my heart was fluttering. Julian must have sensed my defenses softening. His eyes darkened as he took off his jacket and leaned down toward me. "Can I kiss you now?" "You can." I didn't shy away, obediently lifting my head. But just then my phone suddenly rang, interrupting our intimacy. I pushed him away and picked it up. My heart sank. Chapter 9. The call was from my mom. I went out to the balcony to take it. Out of politeness, Julian didn't follow, but his gaze was fixed on my back. "What is it?" "Leo, something's happened to your brother." My mom's tearful voice came through the receiver, but I closed my eyes in annoyance. "What is it this time?" "Did he get into another fight? He's sick, he needs a kidney transplant." My eyelid twitched and a sense of dread washed over me. And I heard my mom say, "Leo, you and he are half-brothers. Come back and get tested as a match. Please save your brother. The doctor said the success rate is higher between siblings. You're his only hope." My mom kept begging me, but I remained silent. Probably sensing my refusal, her tone gradually hardened. "I know you have issues with your brother, but blood is thicker than water. He's your brother. Your stepfather and I have raised you for so long. We fed you, we clothed you. You owe us a return on that investment, and my return is to donate a kidney to your younger son," I asked her flatly. I received an affirmative reply from my mom. "It's what you should do as his older brother. When your stepfather found out about your thing with men in high school, he didn't kick you out. You should at least be grateful for that, otherwise, a pervert like you would be sleeping on the streets by now." I suddenly felt exhausted, both physically and mentally. I covered my face with my hand, and after a moment, replied calmly, "I don't think that kindness is worth one of my kidneys. Don't look for me again. I refuse to get tested. Just consider me dead." With that, I decisively hung up and blocked her number. Looking up at the beautiful, star-dusted night sky, I felt a deep sense of melancholy. When I was in elementary school, my father died in an accident, and my mom remarried in a flash. At first, my stepfather was decent to me for my mom's sake, but everything changed after their own son was born. I clearly became the extra one in the family. My stepfather treated me like a stranger, and my mom doted on my younger brother, seeing him as the family's hope. Later, my brother grew up to be a troublemaker, as if possessed by a demon, a born bad seed. He thought I had stolen his mother, that I wanted to harm him, that I was a jinx. So he stole money from our stepfather and framed me for it. He secretly read inappropriate books and said I gave them to him. When he accidentally fell, he played the victim and claimed I pushed him. My stepfather grew to detest me more and more, and my mother certainly wouldn't defend me. They just unconditionally spoiled their own child. I tried to argue, but my mother would impatiently wave me away. The accumulation of so much injustice weighed on my young self, making me more and more withdrawn and quiet. Then in my senior year of high school, my stepfather, again thinking I had stolen his money, burst into my room. He found some books about homosexuality in my drawer. That day, I saw disgust in my stepfather's and mother's eyes, and schadenfreude in my brother's. I knew my brother had done it on purpose. He wanted to drive me out. He saw me as his enemy. After that incident, my stepfather didn't kick me out to save face. After all, throwing out a stepson would lead to gossip. But the dishes and utensils I used were repeatedly sterilized and then stored separately. They eventually refused to touch anything I had used, as if it were contaminated. I remained calm and silent, accepting all of it without a fight, and soon applied to live in the dorms. After my final exams, I worked part-time for 2 months, then took the wages I'd earned and went to a university in another state by myself. I hadn't been back to that home since, not even by my sophomore year, and they never gave me a single dollar for living expenses or tuition. So I have never known what it feels like to be loved. Julian was right. I am desperate for affection, and I am pitiful. I long for someone to be good to me. Thinking of this, I wiped the sadness from my face and turned, throwing myself into Julian's arms with a smile. "What's wrong?" He cupped my face and asked in a low voice. I smiled sweetly. "Nothing, I'm just tired." "Let's go to bed early." Afraid he would press further, I quickly hid my face. At least the amnesiac Julian was being good to me now. For me, this was like winning the lottery, a short, beautiful dream I didn't want to wake up from. Chapter 10. I had thought my refusal would at least make my mom and stepfather give up and hurry to find another kidney source. But the week after the club trip, the two of them cornered me aggressively at the entrance to my dorm building. They grabbed my bag and yanked my collar. Thankfully, Julian wasn't around. As I breathed a sigh of relief, my mom had already started screaming accusations at me. "Leo, you ungrateful wretch, I wasted my life giving birth to you. Your brother is lying there at death's door, and you don't even care, you even dare to ignore my calls." My stepfather, concerned with his masculine pride, didn't resort to insults, but he did whisper threats to me under his breath. "Leo, you're going to get tested and save your brother right now. If you don't, I'll make sure you can't survive here." Naturally, their appearance instantly attracted a crowd of curious, gossiping students. Among them were a few familiar faces who looked at me in shock. I didn't panic. Instead, I looked at my mom and stepfather, my voice calm and gentle. "Mom, if you're going to be like this, then we can't even have a discussion." Thinking there was still room to negotiate, my mom and stepfather's faces changed instantly. They began fussing over my collar, acting like the most loving parents in the world. "Oh, your mother and I are just worried about your brother, Leo. Please understand, don't mind us." Yes, it was my fault just now. Just do it for my sake, okay? Before the hospital closes, let's go get you tested. Afterward, your uncle will treat you to a nice meal. We can be a happy family and let bygones be bygones." Seeing their phony courtesy, I took 2 steps back and let out a sarcastic laugh. "But I never said I was going to get tested, did I?" My mom's face changed. "Leo, what do you mean? Why are you backing out again? You're getting tested today whether you like it or not. Come with me." As she spoke, she raised her hand to grab me again. But this time her outstretched hand was forcefully slapped away. Then I was pulled into a familiar, broad embrace, enveloped by a clean, crisp scent. I heard Julian's cold voice by my ear. "Touch him again and see what happens." Chapter 11. My mom was momentarily stunned by Julian's imposing presence. Then, seeing the way he was holding me, she understood. A look of clear disgust and revulsion flashed in her eyes. She clutched her hand and started screaming, playing the victim. "He hit me. Not only is my son Leo a disgusting homosexual, but he also had someone hit his own mother. University students these days are unbelievable. All that education has gone to the dogs. Help me." My stepfather supported my mom, glaring at me with rage. To put it mildly, they were utterly shameless. They thought this performance would guilt-trip me, but they didn't expect the surrounding students to be the first to get angry. "Excuse me, ma'am, but you were the one who grabbed him first. So what if he's gay?" It's the 21st century. Is being in a relationship a crime? Forcing him to donate a kidney? Is that what a real mother does? As my mom and stepfather were being called out by the crowd, I cautiously tilted my head to look at Julian. My gaze met the boy's dark, narrow eyes, and he said in a low voice, "Is this why you've been in a bad mood the past couple of days?" I nodded, embarrassed and helpless. "I'll handle this for you." "No, it's okay. I can do it myself." Julian held back, but he didn't let go of my hand. I took a deep breath and looked up at my mom. "I can get tested, but you have to promise me one thing." My mom's eyes immediately lit up. "Name it, regardless of whether the test is a match or not. I will have nothing to do with you from this day forward. Consider it my way of repaying you for giving birth to me. We go our separate ways." my mom was taken aback. Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something, but my stepfather, standing beside her, had already eagerly agreed. "No problem, Leo, we'll do as you say." Chapter 12. I went and got tested. Perhaps God was on my side. A week later, the results came in. We weren't a match. My mom and stepfather slumped to the floor in the hospital corridor, looking utterly devastated, their faces ashen. This meant they would either have to endure the long wait for another kidney source, or, at their advanced age of nearly 50, try to have another child. I calmly observed their miserable faces and my brother. He was pale and bloated, his eyes still filled with hatred for me. I gave him a faint smile, an old couple burying their short-lived son. "Isn't that just karma? I don't want any of my things from the house. Throw them away. From now on, don't look for me. I'll find a way to transfer my household registration as well." I turned and walked away. Julian glanced at my stepfather and his family with a dark expression, then followed me. That's when everything happened. My brother suddenly lunged at me from his hospital bed. "This is all your fault, you jinx, you ruined my life." I was right at the top of the stairs, not far from him. The attack was so sudden I had no time to dodge. I just felt a vicious force shoving me straight down the staircase. But in that moment of chaos, someone pulled me into their arms, shielding me. Amid my mother and stepfather's shocked cries, I stopped tumbling. Frantically, I looked up and saw Julian lying beneath me, a frown on his face. Blood was trickling from a gash on his head, a startling bright red. Chapter 13. I immediately called the police, and my brother was taken away. But he was still young, so he'd probably just get a verbal warning. After cursing me out, my stepfather and mom rushed to the police station to beg for their son's release. Meanwhile, I anxiously waited for Julian's test results. "It's just a cut on his forehead. It might leave a small scar. Otherwise, he's fine." In a twist of fate, the blow seems to have had a positive effect on his brain. There are signs of improvement. His memory should return to normal in the next day or two. I froze. Will that extra memory remain, doctor? Most likely not. Even recent events might disappear along with it. So, in his mind, I would go back to being that barely their roommate. Feeling dejected, I returned to the hospital room, wanting to have one last tender moment with Julian. But the moment I walked in, I stiffened, because Julian was looking at me with a cold, scrutinizing gaze, all the previous warmth gone. Those were the eyes of the real Julian Warren, aloof, regal, and impersonal. He was better, and my dream had ended prematurely. The hand at my side unconsciously clenched into a fist, my nails digging painfully into my palm. I managed to force a gentle smile. "Julian, you're awake, MMM." He gave a faint nod, but I was surprised to see the tips of his ears were blood red. Was he hot? The heating in the room wasn't that high. I didn't dwell on it and continued to awkwardly explain the situation. "You were in a car accident before and hit your head. You called me to come take care of you. Since we're roommates, I had to help you out." Julian just stared at me fixedly. "Thanks for your trouble, Leo. It's nothing. You should rest. As for being discharged, you should probably contact your family. Here are all your test reports. I have other things to do, so I'll be going now." I offered polite words of concern and placed the stack of reports by his hand. Julian suddenly called my name, his expression unreadable. "Leo, is there nothing else you want to say to me?" "And no, nothing. If it's about the hospital fees, you can just transfer the money to me on your phone later." I denied it guiltily. I couldn't just confess that I'd been taking advantage of him this whole time, could I? From the looks of it, he probably didn't remember, so it was better if I didn't say anything. No one at school would dare ask him about our relationship to his face, and I could just explain behind his back that we broke up. At that thought, the wry smile I'd been holding back almost slipped. "Julian, get some rest, goodbye." I turned to leave, but I was forcefully yanked into an embrace held tight. Stunned, I felt Julian pinch my cheek, his voice laced with gritted teeth. "Yesterday you were calling me husband, and now you're acting like you don't know me." I was dumbstruck. He still remembered. This completely unexpected turn of events left me speechless. Chapter 14. Julian still had that romantic memory. He even remembered everything we'd done over the past 2 weeks, all the intimate moments. For a moment, it felt like my brain had been checked out for maintenance. My expression must have been hilarious because Julian chuckled. Stunned, I asked in disbelief, "You're not mad?" He retorted, "Why would I be mad? I'd love nothing more than to be in a relationship with you." "Why? Because." Julian leaned down and kissed my cheek, his voice muffled. "That night we were stargazing, when I said I fell for you at first sight. That was real. My eyes widened in surprise. So that was his real memory. Julian told me he had been smitten with me the first time he saw me during our freshman year. But I was always so closed off. He wanted to get closer to me but was clumsy and didn't know how. Instead, he just made me more respectful and fearful of him. So I had to hide my feelings for a while and figure out how to get closer to you. This accident was a blessing in disguise. It let me, by a strange twist of fate, finally win you over. Julian looked at me, his eyes deep and dark. At that moment, I felt like a string or a bell had been added to my mind, and his hand was plucking it, making it ring chaotically. I was deliriously happy. So you like me? I like you. Julian, me too. Overwhelmed and excited, I wrapped my arms around his neck, pressing myself against him. The beautiful dream that had been cut short was finally growing again. I, the superfluous person, finally had the right to be loved. It felt so good. Meanwhile, my mom was pathetically begging Julian to sign a letter of forgiveness. Julian used this as leverage and decisively helped me transfer my household registration ahead of schedule, severing all ties with them. On the day my mom and I parted ways for good, she cried. She cried quite sadly. I don't know if she was crying for the loss of a son, for the fact that she would have no one to support her in her old age, or because her younger son couldn't find a kidney. But it didn't matter anymore. She already had her own family, and I didn't want to care, just like she had never cared about me. On the way back to the dorm, walking alongside Julian, a question suddenly occurred to me. Julian, what was the deal with that extra memory you had? Julian took my hand and turned his head to look at me. Those were my fantasies about you. I thought about you so often that they became real memories. The dim twilight cast a hazy, intimate glow over everything. Hearing his words, my eyes curved into a smile. So this wasn't just my sweet dream, it was his too. And when the sweet dream came true, you were my joy. Chapter 15. Julian's extra. When I woke up, my mind was a complete mess. My head was filled with images of my boyfriend. He's my roommate, Leo Lane. He has a gentle temperament, fair skin, and when he smiles, his eyes curve like crescent moons. I fell for him at first sight during our freshman year. I'm crazy about him. After the doctor left, I took out my phone. I dialed the number that was etched into my mind. Hello, Julian, what's wrong? Leo sounded a little surprised. His voice miraculously soothed all the anxiety I felt after the crash. Babe, where are you? The doctor said a family member needs to sign for me to be discharged. Leo was silent for a moment, then he stammered out a question. Babe, me, can you come pick me up from the hospital? I'll wait for you. Oh, okay, Leo agreed, sounding utterly shocked. Why is he acting like he doesn't know me? Did we have a fight before I left this morning? No way, I love him so much, how could I bear to make him angry? I stared at my phone, frowning unconsciously. But when Leo arrived, all my questions were thrown out the window, because the moment I saw him, all I wanted was to cling to him. My mind was completely filled with him. Leo was talking to the doctor about something, a look of pure shock on his face. When he finally came to me, I couldn't control myself anymore and threw my arms around him. How could I miss him this much after only being apart for half a day? But he seemed a little helpless, his fingers lightly clutching my clothes. The cold white light of the hospital fell on his face, making him look like a harmless, fluffy little animal. I tilted my head and kissed his cheek, my voice soft. What's wrong, babe? He slowly shook his head, looking like he wanted to say something but didn't. In the end, he just looked at me with concern. I'm fine. Does your head still hurt? It doesn't hurt when I see you. His face turned even redder, his eyelashes fluttering. It made my heart itch. I just couldn't get enough of him. When I followed him back to the dorm, Big Ben and the others were there. They were shocked to see me sticking to Leo. The memories in my head told me that after I got together with Leo, he was worried about us being discriminated against for our sexuality and was also afraid of it affecting me, so we didn't tell anyone. He had been quietly putting up with it all for my sake. Of course, Big Ben and the others didn't know, but I didn't want to hide it anymore. I wanted everyone to know that Leo was my boyfriend. I love him. Leo was stunned, even a little inexplicably scared, but he accepted it quickly. He kissed me, hugged me, and let me lift him up like an adorable kitten. It makes me want to give him all my love, except sometimes he's not well behaved, not letting me take him to a hotel and even trying to push me away. Later, I accidentally found out about his family, and my chaotic mind finally cleared. I lay alone in the hospital room, both mortified and excited. How should I confess properly to Leo and make it up to him? Should I send flowers like other people? or get down on one knee. But when I saw Leo standing at the door to my room, forcing a look of unfamiliarity and wanting to get away from me, all my plans vanished. All I could do was express my feelings directly. Thankfully, he liked me too. My sweet dream was finally able to come true.